All right, friends, welcome back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. Our YouTube channel is dedicated to all things Bannerlord related, and welcome to WARSAILS. Maybe you just picked up the game. On some level, this is going to be a tutorial for a player to start advancing in Bannerlord and WARSAILS. We are going to do a sandbox campaign with the goal of being a pirate, and I'm going to try to do this in an expedited manner, yet in a way that you can easily understand it. It's a very complicated game. Calradia is full of nasty creatures that want to kill us, and I'm going to try to give you as much possible knowledge before you venture out there. Now, we're going to be Empire, and you want to spend time on your character all the time you want, but we're going to blaze through it today. It doesn't really matter. Just a pirate-looking fella. Now, at the beginning of your character development, you must choose all this stuff. It's sort of shaping your character history. And what we're going to be doing is aiming for skill points and focus points, which are the two things that you select at the beginning in a shipboard manner. These are new to anybody who's only played Bannerlord and not WARSAILS. These options are new, and that is because there's a new skill line seen at the bottom there. That has to do with shipboard stuff. So we're going to specifically focus on this, and I cannot be an expert at these skills because these skills have been public for less than a week, right? So we're going to be navigating a little bit in the dark here, and yet at the same time I have 17,000 hours of Bannerlord evidently played. According at least to my console, that's how many hours it says I have put into Bannerlord. So these focus points and attribute points are what power level your character in a given direction. The more you focus on a certain area and then go out and practice those skills, the faster you will get good at those skills. The easy way to think about it is if you decided to work out every day for 6 hours and eat a bunch of protein, no matter what, right? Even if you didn't have great genes, you would eventually become quite muscular. So I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time talking about each one of these. These are really up to you. You want to sort of slowly go through this if it's your first time. The age is somewhat important. There's two basic differences. If you're older, you have a chance of dying of old age faster, but you're more developed. Your character will start as a higher level. If you're younger, obviously you have a much longer runway where your character will be alive in your campaign. I recommend 40 years old for most characters. That way you're not going to die right away, and yet at the same time you get some extra skill points and perks in the sandbox so that your character doesn't start out a complete wet noodle. Now, I'd recommend Freebooter for anybody who's not experienced with WARSAILS. We are going to play with the hardest difficulty, Bannerlord. Now, at the very beginning, you have nothing. Your character has some rags. He has very base level skills. You hear that little song, that little sound, that means we made some levels. That is because our character, starting off at level 30, automatically gets a few focus points and skill points to put around. Now at the bottom there, these little plus signs adjust and add to our various different skill trees here: Mariner, Boatswain, and Shipmaster. These are all new to WARSAILS. This is not part of the base game of Bannerlord, and these are dependent on stats. It looks like there's no attribute on the left there that actually affects these, but they do have corresponding stats. The Mariner is adjusted by vigor and control. The Boatswain is social and intelligence, and Shipmaster is cunning and control. I will double check when I do the after editing, and I will put in the details. They're essentially, these skill perks benefit from two different attribute points. Now, it's important to sort of look at these and plan your character out, unless you're just having fun, right? If you're just having a complete fun and you're not too concerned about it, you're not too serious in your first campaign, then you can just sort of imagine a character and sort of push them in that direction. I would recommend you sort of look at some of these perks that you get. These perks essentially are bonuses that you acquire as your character gets stronger. There's two different shields. There's a top and a bottom one. And as you hit certain checkpoints, certain skill levels, you see that says required skill level there. As you hit those, you have to choose either the top or the bottom. And we will do that a few times in today's episode. I'm going to break this into two parts. Hopefully we get to Clan Tier 3 in 2 hours. It's pretty audacious, but we're going to be moving along. And I'm going to give you tips on the battlefield especially that will help you get there. So we're focusing on Mariner, Boatswain, and Shipmaster. We're going to be putting a little bit more towards Mariner because we're going to be fighting a lot. The goal of this short campaign is to be a pirate. We're going to try to get a boat and go sack some caravans and fishing boats and make a bunch of money, on the open seas. We're going to be a villain in this campaign. This is something wholly new for me. WARSAILS in general is wholly new. This game is out only just recently. I was part of a very small group of content creators that was given an early view of the game. Thank you, Tailworlds. And so we have a little bit of a head start, but not that much. Now I'm looking at some of these, and some of these high-level mariner skills are actually really powerful. This one here, Crew of Spears, impales shields with thrown javelins, right? This is a very powerful perk. Basically, if a guy's holding up a shield, your shield goes right through it and it still either injures or kills him. Same thing with throwing axes, it does extra damage. Here it looks like your two-handed swings do even more damage to multiple people. So we're going to do the mariner line, and people ask and they say, do these perks, do these skills stack? Yes. That is the presumption so far. Of course, we haven't had time to do thorough testing. What we know, though, is that you have more skills now to spread your points. So on one hand, they stack. On the other hand, you have to spread your skill points now and focus points over even more different skills, right? It's going to be a bit of a challenge, and this is hardly going to be the most optimized guide, right? This is sort of a quick guide that I read while I was catching a parachute on the way down to Earth, and we're doing our very best here to help you. Now, right away, I can tell you we're not going to do stealth. If stealth is your thing, I will recommend a half dozen channels to you readily. There's all kinds of guides out there, and there will be plenty more in the future, but that is not my interest. We are going to be a pirate. We're going to flee more than anything. We're not going to hide in the shadows. We're going to mug people, and then we're going to sail off into the sunset. It's going to be a little bit like Waterworld. To that effect, I took all of my stealth gear, all the daggers and all that stuff, and sold it, because at the beginning of a campaign, you're just one dude on a horse. This is one of the most interesting and yet daunting parts of Bannerlord, right? There's 9 looters there. It's basically the lowest level little thug roaming the map. It says their number over them, and then of course we'll get more details about them, like their speed and stuff like that, and they will wipe you out, take you prisoner, and then require you usually to pay them money to be let go, right? They extract a ransom. Sometimes you get toted around. A lot of times you lose the goods that you have on, so you don't want to lose battles in Bannerlord, and that goes without saying, but it really is a zero-sum game. If you're getting captured a lot in Bannerlord, you're probably in trouble. Now, we don't have a shield. We're going to try to acquire a shield. That is because ranged units, units that throw or shoot a projectile at you, are incredibly dangerous. The other component of Bannerlord that's in the early going is fairly simplistic, is watching our fiscal situation. You can see we have 1,700 gold, and then picking. It's basically like high school. You pick on the weak people, you're a bully, and you hope you don't get killed when they commit a mass shooting, right? We're going to zoom in on these guys. Anytime you have more troops than the enemy, you got a good shot to win. And I'm going to help you with looters and with combat. You start on a horse, and that's a big advantage because everybody else is on foot. Now, I recommend you just charge at the beginning. Just tell your initial band of recruits, there's one guy in there that has a shield, charge. And then what I recommend is you come in from the side. You don't even have a shield at this stage, right? So you don't want to stand still because they will throw rocks at you or sling rocks at you. Some of these guys have the medieval weapon of a sling. It's really an ancient weapon from like the Roman time. Now, you want to help your troops out whenever possible, and you want to attack people that aren't attacking you. You see these guys are focused on the looters. You want to come in here and just smash them over the head while they're looking at the looters. Your spear is a very effective tool, and I make it look easy. You're going to have to practice unless you have some experience with Bannerlord. You're going to want to use the practice tutorial. If combat is really difficult for you, I would say practice makes perfect. And know this, even though I make it look easy now, I got owned and killed by looters over and over again at the beginning. So make yourself some save files if you need to. If you start getting captured over and over again, revert to one of the earlier save files. Don't get too frustrated. You will get better. Stick with it, and the rewards will be plentiful. Now, highly avoid situations where you're outnumbered. If there's 2 or 3 of these little units with the red numbers, those are enemies, right? The units with the white numbers are neutral or friendly. The units with red are out to get you, right? And if there's more of them than you, like you can see this guy's actually closing in with us, you want to avoid them, right? There's 30 of them. Run the other way. Run to a city or just keep running And we will talk about movement speed in this episode as well. Now, we have archers now. I upgraded a few of our units, and we'll talk about upgrading units as we go along here. For the more intermediate player, maybe you've played a couple 300 hours of Bannerlord, I am going to be recommending archers early on. We're going to mix infantry, guys that don't have a projectile, or guys that are just holding up a shield. Maybe they have a pitchfork. Archers, and of course cavalry. We're going to be mixing them, but primarily at the beginning you're going to have infantry and archers. Now, positioning our units here, because these looters are coming to us and we're down a little bit of a ridge. What that does is it means that they can't really start shooting until they get shot. As soon as they ran over that ridge, they got shot and smoked. Now I'm just sort of trying to distract attention here from 3 or 4. That way our units aren't fighting all of the looters at the same time. They're fighting about half of them. They should be able to gang up on them without suffering too many losses. Of course, our archers are behind all the rest of our troops. And we'll just do a little bit of stabbing here, right? Any chance that you can sort of interrupt them and distract, take advantage of it, but be mindful of the rocks, right? It's very, very easy to get killed in the early stage, and it takes a long time to heal from your injuries, right? We're at like 80% now. You really want to avoid damage in the early going. You especially want to avoid getting knocked unconscious, right? If you go to 0, you lose control of your character. They are working on a variation of this where you will be able to control somebody else on the battlefield. In the short term, though, and in the long term, avoid being knocked unconscious, right? And that means playing kind of defensive. And as you get more skill, you will acquire the confidence and skill to be more aggressive. In the very early on, you basically want to hide, right? You want to hide behind your troops, be a gang leader, not one of the gang enforcers, and let your guys work. Now that sound is a level, right? We just gained enough skill to give another point here, and I recommend early on you do things like riding, one-handed ability, maybe polearm, which is your spear, and then we will talk more about the mariner skills as we go. Now these are guys on horses here. These are noble units, and they're 200 each, right? So they're not cheap. We're starting to sort of spend money recklessly like a college student who's never had money before. That gold is critical because you must pay your troops, right? You must keep yourself, I would prefer that you kept yourself at least 1,000 gold or close to that always, right? Because there are going to be times where you either get captured or you don't have any way to make money for a while. And think of it like a checking account, right? If you have no money in there, and anything happens, right? You break a windshield, or in this case, you get cornered or trapped, you're kind of screwed. All right, so we got 20 troops. We're looking for targets. We'll talk more about horses as well. You want to try to acquire horses, but we don't have the money to do it, right? We're still in a dire fiscal state. Now, I'm noting that little quest there. That guy wants to basically loan us troops that he wants us to get some experience, go out there and fight. That might be a pretty good quest for us to take. The quests can be identified by the little tiny blue exclamation point, just like that are over villages. Early on, you want to explore these. These are put into the game to help you, because otherwise you're just chasing looters and you have no real other way to make money. This gives variety. This guy wants us to deliver the herd, right? So this quest, he wants us to basically, it's the classic quest where you take this item and put it over there and everybody cheers and you're the hero. We're going to do it. It's a city that's not too far away, and we're going to be opportunistic on the way to that city. We're going to look for targets of opportunity. You can see it says 10 hogs were added to your party. Now, don't sell them, right? A lot of people, you might run to your local city and be like, where'd these pigs come from? I don't know where they came from, and sell them. You'll get some money, and then later on, you'll get a sound basically where that guy is furious with you for selling his hogs. The game, has a memory and a relations history. If you go try to do a quest from that guy later on, he'd be like, hell no, you're the guy who stole my pigs and didn't pay me. So you want to try to stick, at least in the very early on, you want to sort of, it's almost like real life. You want to stick to being sort of a law-abiding citizen, and then once you start gaining some resources, once you're a billionaire, you can do whatever you want, right? That's what our current system in the world is showing. But in Bannerlord, until you're rich, you want to sort of mind the law, right? And more accurately, once you're about tier 2, then you can start doing all kinds of crazy chicanery, robbing people, and that's precisely what we're planning on doing, right? We're going to cause some real carnage once we get to tier 2. Now, you want to be careful equipping your player because you're looking for bargains, but you want a shield and a few basic pieces of armor. But notice my money again, we're down to 700. This is probably a red flag, or at least a red area. Consider this like where your car little gas tank lights up and it says you need fuel soon. But we're in a little bit of a perilous situation here. We need to make money soon, every single day. You can see the daily gold change down there. That is us paying our troops. If you don't pay them, you will suffer morale losses. Morale, effectively, just like real life, if your morale goes low enough, your units will either desert you, or on the battlefield they will simply run, which is even worse, right? They basically, at the moment you need them most, they will take off. Now this is different, right? We have looters. They're the lowest level units in the game. You want to try to attack them. We'll talk more about step bandits and stuff like that. That's a very different animal, and I do not recommend early on, if you're a newer player, that you do anything other than chase down looters, maybe some mountain bandits, some very low level units, and units that are on a horse are particularly dangerous to new players. We will talk about that, and hopefully we can find a battle against cavalry where I can help you. Now, if you remember, we picked up a couple guys on horse, right? So you can hear their hoofs following me. And this is a very simple tactic that new players can abide by. I told everybody to follow me, right? So you hit 0, F1, F2, and what that does is selects everybody. That's 0, and then F1, F2 says follow me. Now I'm dragging the cavalry to the flank. Once we're to the flank, we charge. It sort of splits up their units, and more importantly, it allows you to do this. We're attacking them from behind. The system doesn't really see you, and so you can come in and spear guys in the back while they're fighting your troops. Now, there's a good example. That guy did a third of our health with his little stone. He slung a stone at us. Well, we got revenge on his friend. But the spear and shield is your friend early in a campaign. It's very, very, very good defense because you can just raise your shield when it looks like you're getting attacked, and you can stick your spear out there on a regular basis. It has a nice big contact window, which is basically, even if your timing isn't terrific, your spear will still hit guys, and oftentimes it'll kill them. Now, again, cavalry is a very different story, right? Fighting looters, in fact, right on cue, we've got some step bandits here. There are parts of the map where there are more dangerous bandits. If you start seeing a lot of dangerous bandits and you can't handle them, or you're uncomfortable about them, leave that area. You can go to other areas where there will be more lower level units. That's where you want to be, right? Now this is the place we were told to deliver the herd, and you have two choices here. You can either keep the hogs, go right up to the guy, kick sand in his face and say, now we're keeping them, or you can say, here's your hogs back, and he's happy. We get 750 gold. All we did is basically just walk a couple days with his hogs, and we doubled our money. The quests are definitely something you want to pay attention to. You want to fight in arenas. Early on, you're going to get waxed in arenas, right? You're going to lose most of the time, but you can gain skill points. You can obviously also gain items if you're lucky enough to win an arena. And try to get an arena battle or two in today's episode. I'm probably going to do a little bit of editing. We'll just play sort of unabridged, in other words, unedited here for a half hour or so, and then maybe another half hour where I play without narrating, and we will jump up to clan tier 1. There are 6 different clan tiers, and those clan tiers have a lot to do with how many units you can carry. Right now we can only carry 21, and we might be in trouble here, but I've got the experience to maybe pull this off and help you in a bad situation here. So we've got 3 cavalrymen, we've got some infantry, and we have 7 archers, right? That's going to give us a shot here because archers are pretty good against cavalry, right? They're pretty good against horse archers especially. So I'm going to show you what I would do in this situation. The biggest key is keeping your units together, right? Don't spread your units all over, and don't charge here. A lot of guys are, oh, charge, right? No, but what'll happen is your units will get all thin, spread out, and they'll get cut down or shot to pieces one at a time. What you want to do is keep your units together, right? It's almost like Braveheart, right? Anybody here been in the army, right? right? We stay together or we're all gonna die, right? You can picture I'm Russell Crowe and I'm giving you advice here, right? 16,800 hours. I recommend in this situation you keep your units close. Now I charge with cavalry here, but we're gonna be keeping our infantry on a short leash. In other words, I'm going to charge with them, which is F1, F3. These are all commands you're gonna wanna learn early on. Now, there's only 3 or 4 commands you wanna learn early on. Basically, you wanna be able to click your units and then assign them to go to a location, charge, and follow me. All the rest are sort of irrelevant. You can learn things like shield wall and stuff like that later on. Very early on here, don't worry about things like shield wall, square. You just got a bunch of dudes standing in the step here trying not to get killed. You don't need to do fancy tactics. Now we're spearing guys right there trying to come up and stab us, but time your spear and you usually are going to do better than them with a sword. Like I said, the contact point, and what I mean by that is if your timing is off with the sword, you're going to miss. But if your timing is off with the spear, a lot of times you'll still hit them because it's kind of out in front and it's just poking dudes in the gut. Now we've already killed 2 or 3 guys. When there's guys coming at you, hold up your shield. Now it didn't work there, but if he was coming at me more directly, that would have worked. And you can see our archers are shooting guys. I'm trying to menace them here, but you will consistently see me keep our units close. Occasionally charge, but keep your units close. Like when the enemy's close to them, you can have them charge. They all came up with their sickle, tried to kill that guy. But don't have them on charge indefinitely. I think that's the 3rd or 4th time I said that. That's enough, right? You see them, see how they're starting to spread out and chase guys? If you keep them on charge, they will all scatter all over the place, and you've got a problem. Better to tell them to follow you, which is F1, F2, or just point to where you want them to go. Now, javelin throwing is a whole new skill level for most players, right? It's definitely going to take a lot of practice. I would practice in battles like this where the battle is largely over. The way you can tell the battle is over is looking at the power bar at the top there. That little white, gray, beige is the enemy. I think they have 1 or 2 units left, and we have like 12. Basically, the system is saying it's almost impossible for you to lose this battle. That's a perfect situation for you to practice your javelin throws. Don't throw javelins in situations where you're behind, or maybe it's really close, obviously, unless you've gathered some skill in that area. All right, what else can we show you? Let's see if we can find a tournament, a couple more quests. There's a huge amount of variety to the quests, and a lot of the quests are sort of bewildering for a new player. I still would do a lot of them if I were you, and just accept the fact that you're going to fail some quests. When you fail a quest, you make that villager grouchy with you, and a lot of times when you go back to him in the future to try to do a quest or something like that, he will tell you to pack sand. Now this is part of the reason you want to fight units that are not looters, right? You start to get better gear. The looters, we were getting a few just raggedy pieces of crap. We got a whole bunch of stuff from those step bandits. You know, with risk comes reward. Now you want to keep your army, you know, mostly full, right? If you drop down from the maximum of 21 to 12, go recruit, right? Don't go out into the world with 12 troops unless you can't afford not to. Now, what do we have here? These are called events, or these are something new they have added to 1.3 Bannerlord. And you basically get a series of choices here. It's interesting. There looks like a lot of upside to this. It looks like, let's see, I'm looking at the second one. Say you'll swear up and down that you saw the wreckage, damaging your reputation, but demand 2,000 dinars instead. Well, that sort of fits our storyline here, right? We're going to be sort of this sketchy character hiding in the shadows, trying to scam people and lie his way to being rich. Early on, 2,000 dinars is a mountain of gold, right? That's triple. That'll triple the amount of gold we have. It shows you the consequences on the right there. It says your reputation will be devious, and it says the trade goods goes up at this city. I don't give a shit about that, and you shouldn't either, right? Who cares if the trade goods are more expensive in the city? Thank you very much. We robbed some guy there, evidently. We did some lying, and we got 2,000, right? The same thing the politicians do. We're doing. We're getting rich. We got a, you know, sort of pretty companion here. These wanderers are all over the game in Calradia. You find them in taverns. There's never more than one in a town. But they're a nice addition to your armies. You can think of these as, you know, the D&D equivalent of having a full party of 6. You know, you got a dwarf and an elf and a wizard or some shit like that. That's the Bannerlord equivalent. These characters will stay with you either until they die of old age or they get killed on the battlefield, or you dismiss them, right? If one of them just doesn't have a good skill set, you don't like them, you can always tell them to go away. But we just spent, I think it was 400 on her. However, there's a little bit of a gimmick in the short term that makes it an automatic decision, and I'll show you that in a second, right? It costs 400. We're outfitting her here with some very, very basic raggedy clothing. I wouldn't spend a lot of money on your companions early on, right? We don't want to spend a fifth of our income just trying to make this gal a little bit safer in the battlefield. And the stealth equipment for these units comes for free, right? It's sort of been overlooked, I think, by Tail Worlds, but you have 3 different types of equipment for characters in Bannerlord Warsails. They have stealth equipment, they have civilian equipment, which is what you wear when you wander around town. Don't ask me why you can't wear your sword and shield. Maybe they have some kind of law. Here's your civilian gear here, but look at the stealth gear, right? This gal has nicer armor than anything we can afford, and we could just strip her here, right? That means anytime we're hiding in the shadows, right? She's naked, nothing wrong with that, right? And we will then put this nice weapon or this nice gear onto her battle gear, and it's better than anything basically that we could afford, right? So we get 1,000 gold here from selling some of her stuff and some of the loot, and yet she's now much better outfitted. In fact, we can do a lot of this, of course, with the main character, right? That's a thing you want to do early on, is take your stealth gear and put it on your combat gear. I'm not a big believer in the stealth system, and an easier way to describe it is I just don't want to partake of that side of Bannerlord. There's a lot of guys who love it, right? And they want to see it more expanded, right? They want to go murder nobles and sneak into some damsel's house and convince her mom that they should elope. You know, there's guys that want to have all kinds of different play styles in Bannerlord, and nothing wrong with that, but it just doesn't interest me at all. All right, we got a tournament here, so let's talk about a tournament. These are free. It's a complete freebie. They're random at towns. They're a lot more rare than they used to be, right? Now, you can skip everybody else or you can watch them. I'm just going to try to help you navigate these. These are almost impossible to win for a new player. Even myself, I'll probably have a very difficult time winning this, and this looks like it's bugged behavior. So some guys would say this is this is unethical here. This gal, let's try to knock her out of her coma. She looked like she was just sort of combat stuck there. She's just coming after me with her. Damn, we're trying to help her. Now she's like gonna kill me. She was sort of stuck there. Now we'll just shoot her off her horse here. She doesn't seem to be able to close very well and get a shot off. So we'll get a little practice with our bow skill. And you see, we're gaining bow, we're gaining riding skill, and again, these are free. You always want to enter these, right? Unless you're just in a hurry. All right, so we're part of the second round here, right? We are green. So this time we have a partner, right? That guy running up just speared the guy. That's our friend. Now we're going to lose track of him over the course of this battle, and that is because you want to keep moving in tournaments, right? Don't stop. You want to move and sort of slash. And again, a newer player is going to have a hell of a time navigating this because you're like, what button does what? And, these guys will kill you. They're nobles here, right? So these are very high level units. Many of them have skills that far exceed what we're going to have. You know, we've got 13 one-handed skills. Some of these nobles will have like 200 or 300, right? So just be mindful of that. Usually you're going to lose tournaments, but it's a freebie, right? And it's a good way to get skill points. I just gained athleticism and some one hand. We just gained some riding skill. You know, once you get more comfortable, you'll be able to kill these units, and then the real killer or the real hit out of this is that you get a bunch of really nice equipment by winning tournaments, right? That's the big draw. Now, this round is over, and what I mean by that is 2 of the 4 teams in a 4-team round advance. So once you're down to 2 teams, you can just kind of suicide. In other words, even if we died there, oh shit, just like you see here, you advance. Now, probably one of the things that the AI is the most good at, is the most dangerous at, is charging you with the cavalryman with the spear. You're going to die a lot to some guy on a horse moving quickly with the spear. Here, I'm just going to try to help our guy fighting over here, right? We're going to do the old teamwork thing, and we got ourselves a little scrum here. It's a good opportunity for you to practice your parrying as well. It's just something you're going to have to practice. I'm not going to be able to describe it to you. I am not a parrying master. All my experience and I'm much better at dodging blows than actually parrying blows. Now I like to shoot my partner in the neck here just in case he gets arterial bleeding. Damn, it didn't work. Where is he? Where is he? All right, so this is probably the most hard thing for a new player, right? Might even be hard for me. We're throwing javelins at each other. The thing is, though, is his javelin will probably one-shot me, and I probably need 3 or 4 javelin hits to kill this guy. I'm aiming high because I'm trying to hit him in the jugular. We dodged that one, and we're in trouble. This guy's moving fast, and we don't. We need to lose some weight. We definitely need to go to the gym, and we got ragdolled. But we were one win away there from getting a really nice piece of armor. And again, the bottom line is tournaments are free. You want to participate in tournaments at every given opportunity. We've got some money now. We've got 4,000 gold. We're starting to flesh out an army. I think that's about enough for the, it's called basically clan tier 0. The next time we'll have a little interruption here, a little bit of editing, and we will be clan tier 1. We'll talk about the next stage. Okay, so we want to do here basically is herd this guy towards the city because we should be able to sign on here as a mercenary, and this can be our first contract, right? We're just going to shuffle this guy right towards the front of Oneira. Hopefully there's a lord inside. We can get our gnarly character. He's wearing like bear skins and rough hides and shit like that. He's got a cool looking mask, and how perfect is that, right? These little deserters here are right outside the city, and we'll take her. Right, we'll take a wanderer. Right, we need ranged units. We need skirmishers, and we need captains of boats that give their divisions extra benefits, extra archery damage, etc. We got a cracked bow. Evidently, it shoots just fine, even though it's cracked. I'm not sure that would be a thing. But we're going to set her up to be an archer captain. Ideally, we want to find some Marines, right? We'll talk more about that, but if you don't know much about the DLC, maybe you just bought it. There are specialized units that are basically, they grew up at sea, right? It's like, you know, the sailors that were impressed into the military, the British military. We need to get her some arrows. And these are very expensive, but they're really, they're really nice arrows. Just like before, right? We're going to strip this gal of all her equipment, take off her stealth gear and sell all that shit, or we just put it on her. It's better than this armor. It's really strange that the stealth armor is better than the base armor they start with, and it's also strange that your companion yields somewhere between 800 and 1,000 gold, considering you can pick them up for 500, right? It'd be like, well, I don't want to make an analogy here. Let's keep rolling along. I'm Mr. Analogy, and sometimes I get a little carried away. All right, so we're going to sell some loot here because we don't have a lot of money, and we just spent some money to outfit her. And we do need a Marine companion. They're hard to find. I found one in the Nord campaign, and maybe they're just really rare. We got to pay a bribe just to talk to this gal. And this is the Queen's daughter. This is Ira, the daughter of the Empress. And this is the button we want to click, right? We want to enter the service, but there's a catch. We want money. It's going to cost us a ship. Eventually, we're going to sack some Southern Empire boats too. So, ironically, they're paying for the boats that are eventually going to plague their oceans. We're probably going to be an independent pirate, taking whoever will give us the best contract. We're going to roam the 17 seas of Calradia and just rampage and loot. It's going to be really interesting to see what kind of a boat, a little pirate army we can form. It's going to be small. It has to be small. Otherwise, we won't have enough speed to escape. And if it's too big, you'll just, you'll overwhelm, or maybe you can't even chase down targets, right? We're going to have to be lean and mean. Now, if the power bar there is on the right of the numbers, we're going to auto-resolve, right? We'll speed it along, and we're gaining money for all this influence, right? 200 gold, almost 200 gold per influence point. That's why it says 380. We are now being paid to kill, and it counts for everything. If you kill looters, IRA will still pay us, right? Ironically, the IRA will pay us. That's not a thing, unless, of course, they took more of your money than necessary. Now, what? Oh, you know what? Let's cover these guys real quick. These are Marines, and every kingdom has a Marine line. It's usually just a couple, 3 troops. All of the Nords are Marines. They have that little water underneath the weapon thing there. These units do better at sea. More accurately, they don't do bad. There's a sea penalty for non-Marines, right? So we want some of these guys, right? These are going to be outstanding on a boat. In fact, they're really interesting units. A noble bow? These are tier 5 Aserai. I guess you would say this is an archer. He only has 1 quiver, but he has a sword, a shield. I like these units. I might even like them in the open field. It's basically a tanky Aserai archer. Man, that looks OP. We'll see, right? Because we're going to use them at sea. I don't need to make any more rhymes here, I mean, unless you got to go pee. We'll continue on here. My wife's not watching. Nobody laughed. Let's just let's talk about what we're going to do this next stage. We got some nice loot here too from these deserters, and that is key, right? We're going to continue to upgrade this scrubby armor that we have. Obviously, when you're 1 hour into a campaign, you're wearing rags, right? You're wearing the most ghetto equipment of all. A couple of these characters are practically naked, right? So we got to stick on some boots, stuff like that. We will talk a little bit about character spec in this series, but we're mostly trying to help you navigate, give you clues to navigate the early game of the DLC and get you to the pirate stage, at which point, hopefully, we can give you some tips to be a successful pirate. All right, let's talk about this now. We're a mercenary. Now, how are we going to get stronger? How are we going to level up our troops? How are we going to make money? We're going to kill civilians. We're going to go to villages all up and down the coast here. We're going to actually stay away from major Aserai forces, and we're going to go right for soft targets here. Like a true terrorist, we're going to go right to the villages here and say, give us all your money, right? In fact, the song made like a gun clicking sound. It sounded like a stick-up sound. We got a good horse. We're not here to buy stuff though, right? We're here to tell them to give us troops and give us their goods, right? Now they don't like that, right? They want to fight. Well, we're going to teach them a good lesson. Now again, if the power bar is closer to our number, or let's see, if it's to the left of their number, in other words, you can go back and look at it, but the number of enemy troops, if the power bar is on the right of it, will auto-resolve because it'll be a pretty low casualty loss. That said, if you've got the time to do this stage, you're much better off doing battle on your own with the tactics you are about to learn. Of course, plenty of the guys on the channel have already X'd out. They know how to do all this shit, right? We've got a lot of advanced tacticians on the channel. Our infantry sucks. We got 8 guys in a bathrobe and 1 shield. They're not going to be used much. Until they level up, they're virtually worthless. The enemy's going to be shooting at us with archers. How are we going to stop that? We're gonna basically provide shields and squares out in front with cavalry. Eventually it'll be infantry, but to start here, these are the only shields we have, right? Every guy in that line has a shield. What we'll do is put them towards the archers, closer to the archers than our troops. We might even be able to get our archers up on that hill to the right. I think we'll investigate that. And what we're essentially going to try to do is isolate pockets of the enemy. We're going to attack the infantry when it makes sense. We're going to attack the archers and charge them when it makes sense. And I will walk you through it, right? If you're a new player to the DLC, I highly recommend you just practice a bunch first. We've got several episodes that cover very basic tactics. The episode I always recommend guys who don't have much combat tactics or command experience is called Novice to Napoleon. It'll basically set you up from very, very basic fundamentals of combat all the way to kill boxes and advanced tactics where you're obliterating everything in sight. And it's one solid episode, and I think it's 40 minutes. And if you can watch that or bookmark it for a later date, maybe you graduate one level. It's a step system, right? It's designed so that you can learn step by step to get really good at command. If you just bookmark that and master each stage, I promise you will be blasting everything in sight. And of course, that'll help you, in this case, become a pirate faster. We're gonna use tactics along the way here because otherwise it takes a long time to power level both an army and your main hero, right? We're gonna be doing all kinds of essentially speed playing of Bannerlord here. Because a lot of players don't want to spend 15 hours, get captured, they get captured again, looters capture them, they go broke, they gotta wash dishes and fight some arenas just to have a chance. We're going to teach you basically how to speed run this. Now, we've got archers on the side here, and they're flanking the shit out of the enemy, and it's just immolating their archers. One guy says I say immolation 100 times every episode. We're going to pulverize our enemies here, right? We'll break out some more adjectives, more verbs. We're using our cavalry here just to distract, and unfortunately a few of them got stabbed to death. The key, obviously, to these battles is to win, but we want to win decisively. And the big reason is that dead units... Somebody drilled that guy with the javelin. He went flying. That was great. What was I saying? Dead units don't upgrade, right? Your units get experience and they upgrade to the next tier, and you get a juggernaut army when your units don't get killed. If they're getting killed, if you're suffering large casualties every battle, you are not advancing your army very quickly, right? You're going to take a long time to get a powerful army. So we're going to show you ways to win, not just win, but win decisively. That is the key. And it's astonishing how fast this goes once you start getting your tactics down. You will just power level on an extreme speed. And 3 deaths, I'm actually a little disappointed with that. I got sort of some of our cavalry, these steppe bandits got tied up in the hog pens there or whatever at that little village. I think we can actually do better than that, but I also promise you, if we auto-resolved that, we would have suffered a lot of losses. Way more than that, and I don't want that to happen. All right, so the other thing we're going to do is we're going to almost always veer towards the archer line. When it's an infantry archer line of kingdoms, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I guess we can throw some boots on here, some of these people. Some troop lines start off with infantry and then it branches off to archer or infantry. We're most of the time going to veer to archers because one of the keys to our, at least my entire concept of what we're going to do as a pirate is going to be attacking the enemy at range, right? We're going to have a quick boat in the water. We're going to circle the shit out of our enemy and pepper them full of arrows. And we're going to be very angry, very difficult to catch, right? They're going to be very angry trying to chase after us. We're going to use the wind. We'll talk about all of that stuff later on. I don't actually have a boat picked out. I didn't preview a lot of this. I'm sort of shooting from the hip, but you can do that when you have this many hours of Bannerlord under your belt. You just whip out that belt and start shooting. All right, we're piling up the loot. We will sell the loot at some point, and I will show you the mother lode of money that brings, which is an important point. I haven't really mentioned this before. Do not go buy a ship right away, right? I would suggest 50. Actually, this guy's a dead man. He just right in front of us just suicided. Let's immolate him. I would suggest at least 50,000 dinars before you buy your first boat. Boats are very expensive. Anybody will tell you that in real life, right? Boat, the acronym, break out another 1,000, right? And basically it's salt water, there's maintenance, there's sales. The game has a simulation when it comes to your boats. Essentially, they wear out, and what you have to do is basically pay for them to be repaired every once in a while in port. It's not hugely expensive, but the boat is. I don't think I've seen a boat cheaper than 12,000, 13,000 gold, right? So we're a long ways from being able to afford a boat. And beyond a boat, of course, we need upgrades to it. We need troops. We need good equipment. We're going to have to, get creative to have success as a pirate. There's a pretty good chance we get captured, right? Because there's going to be enemy forces infuriatingly chasing after us. No, kingdoms don't like it when all their caravans are sacked, and that's precisely what we're planning on doing, right? We're gonna attack targets of opportunity in the ocean, just like we're attacking targets of opportunity on the land right now. And skill sets, we'll talk about it over the course of this campaign. At the beginning here, we're going to kind of be jack of all trades because there's a bunch of really easy to get baseline perks that are really useful. And it doesn't take much. It's like one focus point here, one focus point there, and we get this perk, we get that perk. We'll talk more about that, but we are going to be focused on the Marine, Boatswain, and what's the last one? Shipmaster, right? We're going to pour some points into that, even though, keep in mind, those 3 use all 6 of your attributes: strength, intelligence, dexterity, control rather, cunning, all that stuff. So you have to somewhat specialize. In other words, you can't be really high in Marine, Shipmaster, and Boatswain. It's just not a thing because you won't have 8 or 9 attribute points in all of those areas. So on some level, that's going to be an experiment too. This is, by no means is this the final be-all, end-all of pirate runs here, right? This is just an exploratory run. I have some ideas. I'm a brainstormer. We've got plenty of tactics in our bag, and I think this is going to work. It's going to be fun no matter what. Right? Once we get out in the ocean, we start sacking this armed caravan and ramming this caravan. It's going to be really interesting. All right, now we're fighting villagers here, and the power bar was close enough to show you basically how to destroy villagers with a high efficiency as well. This is essential, and I'm not going to show this over and over again, but I want to show a few examples of different situations here so that the newer player can come out here and have success. What we're going to do is push our cavalry again, that shielded cavalry towards the front. We're going to put 2 different branches of archers up on that hill, right? That way they're just spraying everything with arrows as it comes down. And there's horse archers there as well. That's 7th Division. Those guys are there. Let's move the shields. Oops, that's the wrong division. Push them back. This is our shield division. And they are getting peppered. The other thing you can do is you can just sort of wave them here in front of the enemy, and it'll draw a lot of attention. It's the infantry we need to focus on, right? And one of the things you can do is just sort of slam them a little bit with your cavalry, menace them a little bit, and it does a pretty decent job. We're aiming for 5-6 casualties or less here. We got a sergeant crossbow in there clubbing them. There's a couple other archers helping them. And they didn't kill anybody, and they started to rout. They got trucked. Now all that's left is their archers. Kill them all, right? We're going to just flank the shit out of these guys and give them a spear up the butt. It doesn't look like there's that many. We'll do a little bit of javelin work here. We want to try to level this guy's athleticism. So even though I'm riding a horse here at the beginning, we're definitively going to be on foot at some point soon, and that is because you must have athleticism as well to move around a ship. A horse is not going to be very useful, right? You don't get a horse on a ship. I haven't seen a horse yet on a ship. I don't think that's a thing. So we're going to have to work on his athleticism. Again, that's one of the perks we'll talk about is endurance. That's going to be a key one. All right, easy peasy. And now that we've kind of walked you through a couple here, I'm going to start doing these fast. This we want for sure. Plus hit points, right? There's a lot of perks that are really good for land and much less valuable at sea. A classic example is there are some where you do like extra damage to the enemy's shields or their cavalry. Well, they don't have any cavalry, right? And unless it counts the units that are cavalry on the field normally, that are dismounted for ships, and it could, right? We don't have a definitive answer on that. Unless it counts that, though, for sure you want to use the perks that benefit you on the boat, right? The actual perks that apply to the boat. Now look at this gal. We might be able to swing in behind her here. You're trapped. You're not getting away. Right up the chute. Catch her. She's trying. She like tried to get into the castle. Well, I hate to kill such a pretty woman, even though she's got a big old scar on her face. But come with us, right? And this is another battle where you could auto-resolve. Now look at that many casualties. There's no way we would have suffered that many casualties had we fought it out. Again, you don't have to fight out battles, but it's going to take you, I think, ironically, it might take you longer. A campaign like this, if you think you're saving speed by auto-resolving, it might be a lot worse, right? And we get our first banner here. This is nice. We're going to start outfitting these troops. I actually like how our main character looks here. We got to change his name. That's a stupid name. Eventually, or somewhere or other, we'll probably make him look a little bit more like a pirate. But I like his gear. He looks like one of those people from Star Wars. That sand planet. What are those people called? All right, we're piling up some good loot here. This guy's got a decent horse. I want to give him a camel, but you have to have a very specific harness for it. All right, we need to find some deserters or some bigger battles here because these little battles, they're not stimulating my brain, and it may not be helping you guys much. That's always one of the hardest parts of the channel to balance, and that is, helping newer players while not boring the crap out of experienced players. Now, this is definitely a battle we're going to fight. This is, not a real challenge, but again, it's an opportunity for us to show how effective tactics are. You auto-resolve this and you lose 2/3 of your army. You have all kinds of death. You got to almost rebuild your army, right? You're running around, all of a sudden, you had 26 archers, now you have 7 because they got devastated by this huge infantry charge. It's a lot of infantry, right? So we want to basically do some kiting here, open up a kill box, and we're going to try to break this down, right? So that even a relatively new commander can understand it. Again, for archer fire, we've got that cavalry out in front. part of the reason that works is the enemy AI, the archers especially, tend to shoot units that are closest. Well, if they have a shield up, obviously that's great news for us. All right, let's, we could get horse archers up in here. Let's have a mobile unit of archers. I'm going to put some horse archers up here. One of the biggest keys in a situation like this, where the enemy has almost more infantry than our whole army, and they have archers, is sucking their infantry in and then pounding them from 2 or 3 different angles. If it sounds like a bad porn movie, I can't help it. We're gonna just pound them, bring them right down the slot, and lay them on their back, and get these guys up here on top. I've got a great angle. The director I can't quite see. All right, there we go. They got archers moving in. I'm getting poked. All right, horse archers there, archers in the center, and we are going to kite here because it's a lot of shields. Archers don't do very well against shields, but shields generally only face about 180 degrees, right, towards a certain direction. They kind of protect you from the sides. Bannerlord's shields are a little bit unrealistic. You can basically shoot a guy almost from the side and it'll still hit his shield. I actually think it's fine because the bottom line is archers are already overpowered in Bannerlord. Some archer drilled me for half my health. Just hit me right in the head on the gallop. Now here they come, right? Now it's time to kite because otherwise these divisions are all dead, right? So what we're going to actually do here is pull back the center. First, second, let's move the third and the fifth, right? This division, all I'm doing is moving them back 40 or 50 meters, straight back. So all they do is go back to the trees. The outer wings, right? The horse archers up on the hill there, and this side over here, we'll move them back, but you could also just leave them there because a lot of the forces will come down the center, right? You see some are coming down the center, some are coming towards the left. Let's just kite with them because it's so effective. Especially if you use the slow-mo, this should be an easy tactic for most players to, to replicate. Your forces are in a little bit of a, it looks almost like a bucket or a cup, a V, and then as the enemy gets close to your units, you simply move them further away from the center of the battle. And those guys got blasted. We had a couple losses there. They're already routing. They're getting smoked. They're getting butchered. That guy got crushed. And the enemy's dead, right? They have 10 troops left. We could charge. What do we have? Like 4 or 5 casualties, 3 casualties, right? Now we'll probably suffer a couple here just going in for the kill. If you really wanted to be a perfectionist, you just wait, right? You wait until the enemy came even closer. Your archers will shoot these guys to death. Got to get our main guy here some armor. He's getting skewered. And the enemy's blasted here. And 4 casualties. Right, we would have had 34 if we auto-resolved this. 44 maybe. Right, and again, all those upgrades occur when guys don't die, right? You get a huge calamitous battle there, and not only do you not upgrade a bunch of units, but now you got to run around and pick up a bunch of villagers and start leveling them again. No thanks. All right, we're still searching for deserters. Deserters give some of the best loot in the game. If you don't know what that is, if you haven't played Bannerlord in a while, after a battle, after a significant battle, I don't mean usually not a one-on-one, but a one-on. Usually if it's like 400 versus 500, there are these little groups of bandits that form afterwards, and it makes sense, right? They're the troops that fled, they're the cowards that left the battleground, and they are easy pickings, right? And they have great loot. So we'll find some somewhere in here. There's almost always some on frontier territories, right? Where 2 kingdoms are at war, you're going to find deserters. Oh, this is tasty. Yeah, you just keep on raiding there. We want him to attack. We're outnumbered, but let's see. Maybe we can have a village fight here. Oh, he's running. We like that, right? That means that we're probably favored in this battle. Either way, we're going to fight here. Oh, shit. No. Don't get away. Don't get away. This is like the mother lode here. These are the perfect armies to farm. Talk about upgrades. Talk about EXP. The power bar slightly favors him. That's even better. We've got our Raggedy, our hero here. we've got some good equipment already, but this should be the mother lode, right? When you start facing nobles that have 118 troops, you start getting legendary swords and nice horse armor. Occasionally you can get like a nice tier 4 or tier 5 piece of armor, right? Our shit's starting to chafe. We're wearing animal hides and shit. It's starting to stink. It's hot in the desert, man. That would not be fun to wear like a stinky animal hide. But if that's all you had, right, I guess that's what you would wear. And we're running out of cavalry. Of course, that's a normal function of this type of battle. We'll recruit a few more, but we're pretty close to wrapping this up, right? And what I mean by that is this tier 1 stage, I think we hit tier 2. I didn't even notice it, but we've got 60, 70 troops. We've got about 40 or 45 archers. And so what I've done is I've made a 3rd division here. I will walk you through it here in the desert, some kind of a disheveled pile of shit, Asteroid Desert. Looks like maybe there's a lake here a long time ago. I'm sure you guys are interested in the geographical formations of lake and stuff like that. Totally irrelevant. And what do we got going on here? Enemy cavalry coming in. Where's the rest of their troops? Now, battles like this, you definitely want to... That went right through the guy. You definitely want to take your time, right? You don't want to just race into him. It looks like... Wow, they're playing defensive here. Well, that favors us, frankly, because we have archers. You know what? If they attacked us, that favors us too, because we have archers. This is basically one of the biggest conundrums in Bannerlord, is the bottom line is if you have archers, every situation is better for you. There's a couple out of like 100 that are worse for you. If you're wondering what I think a bad situation is for archers, so many ridges and hills you can't get line of sight, right? If it's just jagged hills everywhere, and steep, close connected hills where you can't even see the enemy, that would be a bad scenario for archers. Every other situation, which is, 98 out of 100 situations, archers just crush and mangle everything. And you could tell how deadly they are by these shots from these horse archers. I'm moving, they're moving, and they're still hitting my shield on a regular basis. Just dead center in my shield, like they're a darts professional or something like that. Same thing with the archers over there. I'm running around on a horse, and they've got 3 or 4 arrows already in my shield. Incredibly lethal. They made archers even better now. We're gonna have one of those, you bitches. Nice little slash across your face. I bet that hurt. We've got more archers than them, right? And so it's a basically fight fire with fire. They're stabbing us. We're gonna stab them eventually. We have 3 cavalry. We got a few more horse archers, and our one-handed skill is so slow. But we've got archers now in a big spray here. Again, the formation you'll see us regularly use, and it's super effective against 80% of enemy attacks. It's just 3 or 4 different divisions of ranged units spread out around the enemy. The enemy tends to concentrate, and it's dead meat to this. In fact, we can move these archers up. They just killed or stood up the attacker there. And these are the kind of battles where, a lot of players... might struggle to win. We're not just going to win here. I don't know if we'll have any deaths. Maybe we've already had a death. It looks like we've had 1 or 2 based on the power bar. We're not going to have many, though. We might have 5 deaths or less. So just the enemy, they're not even going to reach us here, right? They're coming up in a strong shield wall. Meanwhile, they're being peppered from both sides. I mean, these archers over here are just straight shooting down their flank. They can't miss. They weren't going to miss anyways, but now they're really not going to miss. And just like we did earlier in this episode, we kite, we grab the cavalry and follow us. These little archers here that are coming up a little too aggressively, we tell them to hold on. You guys will get your lashes. Everybody gets a lick here. We're just going to swirl the enemy now. I like to swirl cavalry in here because it forms them into a tight fishball. That makes it easier for our archers to shoot even more people in the face. You can hear them being smoked. They're calling us a coward, but I'd rather be a coward than dead. You dead man! Right, these guys are circled into the dust. I'm going to get a little melee skill farming here at the end of this. And away they go here. Now, someone watching this who's like, I can't do all that. I want to still do a pirate series. I can't do all that. What I think we'll do is... Let's see, how do we do? At the beginning of next episode, we will have a couple of battles, very, very simplified, even more simplified than this. We're not going to be able to take on quite as strong a foe. And look how beautiful this is. We get a bunch of troops too. But again, it's the balance of trying to help players. God, did we hit another tier? We're at 99. I don't know what I'm looking at here. Clan. We can't be Clan 3 already, can we? I'll look in a second. We're getting loads of prisoners, and like I said, it's the mother load, right? 10 upgrades of our archers, just a heap of upgrades. We don't even need these prisoners, right? I can go recruit troops now. We must have just got another clan tier, and this is what I mean. We get the mother load of loot, masterwork, heavy. I can't use a lot of this stuff, but our companions can, right? We can stick some of this stuff on this gal here. She could probably use a masterwork heavy mace. Smash people in the face. She can have a bow that's not cracked. We can give her a nice banner here. I don't want to show you too much of this stuff, right? You guys, I mean, most people can outfit their characters pretty well. We'll put little tidbits in that maybe people will find helpful, but I would imagine people outfit their troops as well or better than we do here. Now, I guess the point is, though, is just by look at, and our battle was significant enough to create deserters. I don't think that guy was there before. He just rockets off. Now there's tons of deserters here. Come on, make one army. Well, some of them merged. Deserters merge now, and I think that's great. I wish they all merged, right? And there's like 150 or something to go siege a city. But this will work, right? I don't really want to fight them at dark, but we can do one last example here, right? A bunch of deserters and wrap up this episode. I'm aware that, on some level it's repetitive. I'm aware that some people know how to do this. I'm aware on the other side that some people can watch this twice and not pick it up, right? There's an impossible balance. I'm trying to walk on the edge of a knife here with bare feet. I'm going to get cut. But these tactics here become indispensable once you learn them. You're not going to deviate too much from them because they're so successful. I mean, it doesn't get much more successful than that, right? You have 2-3 casualties in a battle where the power bar almost favors the enemy. Again, if you F1, F3, or if you use some fairly rudimentary tactics with archers behind infantry, for example, very standard tactic. I see even prominent YouTubers don't seem to be picking this up. It's still sort of perplexing to me. I won't say names, but I still see, YouTubers that have a lot of followers, and they just kind of have archers behind infantry, tactics. Anyways, curious to me, right, that this hasn't spread more, but you can be enlightened, right? You are on tactical enlightenment. You're not on tactical mediocrity here. So we're going to try to teach you guys all the tactical tools to decimate your foe. And it helps at this stage, right? Otherwise, again, we'd be losing a lot of time here just rebuilding our army. So we're actually saving time, even though some of the battles take 5 or 10 minutes instead of 60 seconds. Now the enemy's literally running down a chute. It's almost like I designed this landscape myself. There's a nice little valley in the center where the enemy's going to run right through the middle. I've got horse archers over here. We've got this 6th division peppering them. They're already half injured by the time they get to the center of the hill here. These guys are firing javelins, and they're good-looking units now. Why? Because we've upgraded. This army is really powerful all of a sudden. Maybe 6, 7 battles in this episode. I probably won't show you all of them, but 6, 7, 8 battles, not counting, the villagers. And suddenly, our army is mostly tier 4, tier 5, and a few tier 6. I think maybe we have 1 Vanguard Ferris or Elite Cataphract. We're not going to get any NORDS, of course. We're a long ways away from NORDS, unless we get a prisoner or something lucky like that. I'm going to level up some skills here. Stand still, please. In moments like that, I always think of that scene in No Country for Old Men, where Anton Chigurh gets out of the car and he's trying to steal the guy's car, and he's like, "Would you hold still, please?" And he fires that little piston into the guy's brain. The guy's totally inept. He's like, "What are you doing, man?" He's like, "Would you just hold still?" And he just stares at it while he gets I almost said it again, where he gets eviscerated in the forehead. Sometimes the AI is just like, "What are you doing there? You're approaching me." Oh, I'm dead. And 0 casualties, right? No dead. And notice there's no upgrades. We're done upgrading. Basically, our army, it's not maxed, but look at that. We have 22 of the Bahria You guys can make fun of my pronunciation or lack thereof. Bahrias. All right, we're going to wrap this episode up. I think this is going to be an hour-ish. I imagine a lot of guys didn't watch till the end. Hopefully, if you needed some tactical help, you did watch to the end, right? If you're playing the DLC in WARSAILS, this is episode 1, right? We're going to do... I'm trying to think what the next episode should be. We probably should mix in a little tiny bit of siege defense, because there's almost no better way. There probably is no better way to really power level your character. What are our goals, right? We want money. We want to power level our character. In particular, we're trying to power level 2 different stats for this character. We want endurance and we want throwing. Of course, we want the marine skills as well, but we're gonna try for it all, right? We're gonna try to get greedy here. We're not gonna get to 330 athleticism, of course, but maybe we can get to 250 or 230 or something like that. So stay tuned. If you want to see more from our pirate series here, we'll give him a cool name, maybe some tattoos or something like that, so he stands out from the crowd. But more importantly, we're gonna stand out from the crowd by using dynamic tactics, smashing the enemy into the dust here, and hopefully putting on a nice show of tactics with our pirate ships as well. It's going to be fun making out our fleet. So if you want to see more, of course, now's your time to subscribe. Please hit that like button on the way out, friends, and I will see you next time.